Now, I thought it would be good to do something a little bit different, so let's take a look at Lynchian director David Lynch. I have two reasons for making this video. Ranking seems like exactly the sort of thing that he would hate, and I watched half of these on my phone.
Fucking telephone.
No, that's not. I do have two reasons. First, I think it'd be good to be nice about stuff, and on the whole, within this format, I think I could be nice about some stuff. And the second reason is, I guess David Lynch sort of famously works from the subconscious, right? He just tries to translate an idea that he has directly to a movie. It never passes through the middleman of words. He directs with like wiggling his hands and stuff. The idea means something, but it might not mean what you currently think it means. So you just keep it in idea form. You don't intellectualize it now, and it, has a lot more power, is the theory. Okay, so it means he's kind of incapable of describing what his movies mean. He deliberately avoids that step as much as possible. So he basically refuses to share a common language with critics, and because of this, all criticism ends up falling into a few buckets. It's either self-examination of the person doing the criticizing, like this is what this means to me, and that's what Lynch would prefer you to do the most. Just think about what it means to you and leave it there. Or there's intellectualization, where people go, this is what this means in philosophical terms, or we try and psychoanalyze Lynch, try and turn the ideas into words using logic. And that can be really, really good. Or there's crazed link finding. This object in the background of this scene means that everything takes place in the Twin Peaks universe. Everything he's made is about TV. And those people, well, I'm not going to say what needs to happen to those people. I usually try to do some sort of novel deconstruction of things. I think maybe the most novel deconstruction I could do of Lynch would be to rank them with pithy little criticism. So I think maybe that's worth experimenting with. We'll see. Number 10, Eraserhead. Yeah, I'm sorry, okay? Look, this is my only insane hot take. I swear. No, it's not. I think there's two more. It'll be alright, okay? Calm down. So basically, the plot of the movie is that David Lynch was having a hard time with his new baby, and then he started cheating on his wife and got divorced, and he was feeling good. Look, it's imaginative and innovative. It's got good bits of silent comedy and body horror, but it does feel like an art film in the traditional sense. You look at this like you'd look at a painting. It is interesting, but it doesn't quite hold for an hour and a half. The visuals and sound are there and, great. And it takes place entirely in this sort of dream space. Obviously, it's a David Lynch movie. But I think it's good, it's interesting that he found his aesthetic right away, really. But in terms of things like pacing or plot or character, it's very simplistic. It's very bare bones. All the characters are, just like a cutout of a character. Everyone has a single beat, a single plot purpose, and they achieve that, and then that's it. And the plot doesn't really build or release, so it just sort of drones. I feel like I get it, and I can appreciate its artistic merit, but it doesn't really engage me. And is that on me? I think partly it is. I fundamentally do not relate to the story, but I think I don't relate to any actually anything on this list I wouldn't relate to. So the question is, could it have been done without compromising the artistic vision? And I think it could have. That's something that he was able to achieve later on in his career at the same time as emotional arcs and empathetic characterizations. Obviously, right out the gate, student film, this is a banger, but, it's just like a first step, a necessary first step, but it does feel like a first step. Number 9, Hotel Room. Now, if you've not heard of this, it's a 3-episode pilot that was going to be a series about this hotel room, and just every episode was a different character story of different people in this room at different points in time. Which I think is a pretty good idea. Super dialogue-heavy bottle episodes, where historically it was like, I think it comes from Star Trek, where like they'd overspent on the budget of some episodes, so other episodes they had to make like super low-key. They're just like, alright, let's lock 2 characters in a room and have the plot be that. and they just have to, you know, go with it. And that is always the best. That limitation means that you have to force the interaction and the character stories to reach a pitch that is actually just absurd, and you wouldn't get away with anywhere else. So it's interesting that it's so rare still, and I think an anthology series just based on that as a premise is a good idea. I don't know if Lynch is quite the person to get for it. You know, he's not really a dialogue guy, but the two that he did, he pulled them off. The first episode is basically a very David Lynch story, but it's told entirely straight. It sort of plays with this dual identity, like the warring self, two halves of the same person, but it's done in a way that's so subtle you could actually miss it, which is a nice contrast, especially compared to everything that came after this, where he's basically like, what if this person was literally another person? It's not incredible, but it is interesting. Now, I'm not really going to talk about the second episode because it's not David Lynch, but it is very annoying, dull, semi-comic 90s TV show shit. But then the last 5 minutes act as a punchline to everything that came before, which to me makes it worth it, even if it is so stupid. Then the final episode, The Blackout, really takes it to the next level. Within this framing device of hotel room based, you know, vignettes, he limits himself down further to like just a two-shot in darkness. Crispin Glover is trying to support Alicia Witt, who is really just struggling and losing her grip on reality. So it does allow for this very interesting non-linear storytelling. In the dialogue, and the Lynchian imagery is just represented with this with like these key little phrases, and it's very abstract, but it is also entirely grounded and character-driven. Slow and poignant, and it is just a two-shot in darkness. I'm not gonna go further than that. If you haven't seen that, definitely check that out. Number 8, Inland Empire. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it. At least I get that there's this plot about an actress getting lost in a character, and within that plot there's a subplot about saving a lady from a guy. I suppose if you want to get reductive, it's very simple melodrama with like a mainstream MacGuffin fetch quest. Get the thing and save the girl. But that's so buried within its delivery. So I wasn't engaged, but I don't feel like it was trying to engage me. I feel like with Eraserhead, the movie failed to have engaging elements. This, it feels like he just doesn't care. You know, he knows what he's doing, but he just doesn't care if you like it or not. And that's respectable. He's just backed away to do his own thing, like George Lucas pretends to do. Now, he wrote it as he went, you know, just shot a little piece at a time and pieced them all together. But I think the structure of it works. It doesn't feel meaningless because he manages to work that in as part of the framing of the narrative. I mean, the first hour is basically linear, and it sort of sells you on this idea. So I don't have a problem with that it's like sort of devolves into little chunks that feels earned. And it does feel like he has a mastery of these things. So he is just, you know, pushing what he can do in terms of self-indulgence as much as possible. And that's cool. Now, people are put off by how ugly it is. That felt fine to me as well. He shows very early on he can achieve pretty cinematic results out of this crappy camera, but he was obviously more interested in the ugliness. You know, the rolling shutter, clipping backdrops. He really puts like a fisheye lens on it, shoves it into people's faces, and there's like overexposed beads of sweat. It really like pushes the ugliness of digital. He always has a presence in his movies, but here, more so than most, he is willfully combative to the audience in the way that he shoots it. But it is self-indulgent, and he does kind of get stuck in this recursion loop of like, what if there was a character who got lost in a character, 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 who got lost in in a character who got lost 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 in a character, and that can kind of get a little tedious. Number 7, Mulholland Drive. Again, I'd like to apologize for my opinions. I feel like I need to justify this low placement, and I will by making things worse. But first, I mean, it's obviously a culmination of all different aesthetics that David Lynch likes. Such an enticing world and a plot that really moves, characters that you really just want to know more about, and obviously a central mystery to it. Where a lot of these movies take you into like a nightmare world, this is sort of, I mean, it is still fucked, but man, what a lot of fun. I really love it. In some ways, you know, it could be my number 1 pick. But it isn't because of my unfortunate and tragic exposure to tidbits. Now I'm going to do like a couple minutes of spoilers and a tidbit. So if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you skip this. And if you have seen it, maybe even then you might want to skip. Basically, I'm happy that you're here, but ideally no one would actually watch these videos. You just put it on and then leave it going. I knew 2 things about it going in. I knew about the Winkies scene, and I knew that it was a pilot that didn't get picked up and was adapted into a movie. The unfortunate thing is, if you know that, you can tell the moment the pilot ends and the additional footage starts, because it just like retcons everything that came before in the hackiest way possible. It is disastrous. It's like if you got like r/fan theories to write your ending. Wow, it was a dream and a coma, and I think Lynch isn't aware enough of tropes to even care that that sort of thing is hacky, and that's why he did it. And I think he does sort of get away with it almost because it's very stylish. And I mean, I like the back half, but I feel like in relation to the opening, it retroactively ruins it. I'm not a big dreams guy, you know. I mean, I'm not like, you know, some people, you mention dreams to them and they're like, no! I'm not like that. But I just feel like dreams to me are pretty regular. My dreams aren't that exciting. And I think if you don't subscribe to the idea that we're all literally living inside a dream, that ending does render everything meaningless. Now, to be fair, he was going to be sued if he didn't finish this and turn it into a movie, and he admits that he had no ideas, 0 ideas, so he meditated to come up with some, and they came to him like a string of pearls.
Like a string of pearls.
The ideas came.
I've seen him tell that story a couple of times. That is sort of one of his pitches for transcendental meditation, that he came up with the ending for Mulholland Drive. People like to talk about this movie as if there's like clues in it. You know, it doesn't feel earned on its own, so surely there must be something hidden in there. But I mean, there's never going to be a constructive way to approach a David Lynch movie. Or the worst is when they're like, I knew it was a dream, actually. I was watching it and I knew it was a dream the whole time. Did you? Because no one working on it knew that. No, I knew it was a dream because it's very dreamlike throughout. Oh, a David Lynch movie was dreamlike. Fuck me. Anyway, what was I saying? I still enjoy the opening, and I think it's very interesting to contrast the pilot to the final cut. In the pilot, when Naomi Watts arrives in LA for the first time, it's entirely sincere. You've got very dreamy music, you're seeing over the city for the first time, and it's like you as the audience are with her in her like excitement, and it sort of paints a picture of Los Angeles as a city of dreams. By the time he got to turning it into a movie, he reshot that opening scene. We see her looking out over a shitty poster of LA and really overreacting in a major way, and the score is like doing nothing to sell you on it. And even throughout her arrival, going right through the first half of the movie, there was a dreamy Angelo Badalamenti score that has just been cut out entirely. So where things played sincere, you now, as an audience, are actually a little detached from her. So it shifts from genuine, like, city of dreams portrayal to, like, ironic, more detached, more like, you know, I think David Lynch was maybe a little less sold on the idea of a city of dreams after the kerfuffle around making this. But, you know, for me, if you just stop this movie at the end of the pilot, that's perfect. And even the ending is good and well done. And it's just the way that they join together that really annoys me. I really wanted to see what was happening with Justin Theroux and the cowboy guy. Bong, 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 bong. Number whatever. Twin Peaks. Man, oh man. What a show. The pilot is a great pilot that really sells this world, but I don't think it really picks up until episode 2 or 3, where he really gets to start experimenting with, you know, what it is. A lot of it is so simple and so, you know, straightforward melodrama stuff. Some people talk about it as if that's irony, satire of soap operas, but I think, at least not really on the part of Lynch. I think he's very sincere, always. He does subtext, but it's from the subconscious. I don't think he does the sort of, that level of intellectualization that you would need to do in order to do irony. Not that he couldn't, it just seems like the opposite of what he does typically do. And I don't think he cares enough about TV for it to be a parody of TV. You know, I think it actually is just really strong in its melodramatic elements. Those characters in the town, characters that you care about, and at the same time, it can really push out in the direction of genuine horror. Well, at least when David Lynch is on board, the fusion of whimsy and comedy and surrealism without actually going too far. It's very restrained and, you know, works so well. It's funny when it wants to be funny. It's a little weird when it wants to be weird, but it's not like, you know, it's known for being so strange and stuff, but it's actually, I think, very restrained. And I think it's really because of Lynch's style. He's only doing comedy or horror or surrealism when it works to fit the idea, so everything feels cohesive. When it's funny, there's still a layer of dread. When it's surreal, it still feels grounded. He's not doing weird for the sake of weird. He maybe just has to push outside of realistic imagery to get an idea across. But yeah, my problem is the episodes that aren't directed by Lynch and most of season 2. I mean, I thought I could handle a bad season 2. I mean, I'll still watch it, it's not like offensive, but it is so much worse. Often when people talk about TV shows tailing off, it's more like things that they wanted to happen didn't happen. And I assume that would be the case here. But no, it just stylistically and narratively goes to shit. I think season 2 of Twin Peaks is really where we get Lynchian from. Lynchian, as far as I can tell, is a word that means something's trying way too hard to be weird, and it fucking sucks. There is the American tendency to keep TV shows going on forever, and I feel like, you know, if they'd limited themselves to like a 10-episode run, Twin Peaks would have been a banger, but it just sort of kept going. You know, I don't know that the mystery being solved was really like such a harsh turning point of a lower quality that people seem to think it is. I feel like it just sort of steadily ran out of steam. And then there's these key points where David Lynch jumped in and showed how much more of an artist he is than anyone else working on that show. No offense. It is super flat, it is like a TV show. It's shot so normally, and yet within that framework, he's able to push out in some really unexpected directions that I don't think anyone else has been able to do. Bob coming over that couch, that is nuts, and I think it's so deliberately constructed, the way he sort of breaks through all of these frames. Look at that shot. Fuck me. I think that's it. We'll leave it there. I don't think I need to do an outro. I'll see you again next 25 years.